In the fertile Jordan Valley, nestled amidst the plains, stood two vibrant cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. From a distance, they were symbols of prosperity, bustling with trade and overflowing with life. But this glittering facade hid a dark reality. Within their walls, corruption had taken root, spreading like a disease. Cruelty was commonplace, violence was a sport, and the cries of the oppressed and the innocent went unheard by men. But these cries did not go unheard by God. The injustice had reached a tipping point, a line had been crossed, and a decision was made. Judgment was coming, yet, even in the face of such profound wickedness, there was a pause for mercy. God revealed his intentions to his faithful servant, Abram, who would later be known as Abraham. Standing on a hillside overlooking the valley, Abraham's heart ached for the cities, not for their sin, but for any righteous souls who might be living there. He began to plead, to bargain with God. Will you really sweep away the righteous along with the wicked? He asked, what if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you spare it for their sake? God, in his infinite mercy, agreed. If 50 righteous people could be found, the cities would be saved. But Abraham, driven by a deep sense of justice and compassion, pressed on. What if there were 45? What about 40? He continued, his voice filled with urgency, down to 30, then 20. Finally, with trembling hope, he asked, what if only 10 are found there? And God promised, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. The fate of thousands now rested on the goodness of just 10 people. As evening descended, two strangers, who were in fact angels of God, arrived at the gates of Sodom. Sitting there was Lot, Abraham's nephew. He was a righteous man living in a city that had lost its way. Recognizing the divine nature of his visitors, Lot immediately rose to greet them. He bowed low, showing the respect due to messengers from God. Knowing the dangers that lurked in the city streets after dark, he pleaded with them not to spend the night in the town square. Please, my lords, he urged, turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. He insisted, understanding the peril they were in, and led them to the safety of his home, where he prepared a meal for them, offering them the best of what he had. But the hospitality was short-lived. Before the night was over, a shadow fell over Lot's home. The men of Sodom, from the youngest to the oldest, from every part of the city, had gathered. They surrounded the house, their voices rising in a sinister chorus of rage and depravity. They pounded on the door, demanding that Lot bring out his guests, so they could inflict their twisted desires upon them. Their intentions were pure evil, a horrifying display of the city's moral decay. Lot, desperate to protect his guests, went outside, pleading with the mob, but his pleas were met with scorn and threats. The crowd surged forward, ready to break down the door. In that moment, the angels acted decisively. They pulled Lot back inside, slamming the door shut. Then, they struck the frenzied mob outside with a blinding light, leaving them stumbling and confused, unable to find the doorway. The city's wickedness had been laid bare for all to see. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with dread. The angels turned to Lot with a grave message. Their purpose in Sodom was now terrifyingly clear. Do you have anyone else here? They asked. Sons-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you. Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. Lot rushed to warn his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters, but they laughed at him. They thought he was joking, unable to comprehend the imminent doom. As dawn approached, Lot himself hesitated, perhaps tied to the life he had built, the home he knew. The angels, seeing his reluctance, took him, his wife, and his 2 daughters firmly by the hand. God was showing them mercy. They were led forcefully out of the city, saved from the coming storm. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the horizon, they were on the run. The angels' final command was a stark and urgent one. Flee for your lives. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. They ran, the city of their past at their backs, the promise of a future ahead. But the pull of the past, of everything she had ever known, was too strong for Lot's wife. In a moment of tragic disobedience and divided loyalty, she turned her head for one last look at the home it was leaving behind. Instantly, she was frozen in time, transformed into a pillar of salt, a stark and permanent monument to the danger of looking back when God is leading you forward. Her heart had remained in Sodom, and so, in a way, did she. And then, the sky itself opened up. It wasn't rain that fell, but fire. The Lord rained down burning sulfur from the heavens upon Sodom and Gomorrah and the entire plain. The once thriving hubs of commerce and life were engulfed in a storm of divine judgment. Buildings crumbled, streets melted, and the very ground was scorched. The cities were utterly consumed, reduced to nothing but smoke and ashes. The air filled with the smell of sulfur as a thick, black smoke rose from the valley, like the smoke from a colossal furnace. The land that was once described as being like the garden of the Lord was left desolate and barren. The cries of injustice had finally been answered, and the verdict was absolute. Early the next morning, from his vantage point in the hills, Abraham returned to the place where he had stood and pleaded with the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain. What he saw confirmed his worst fears. He saw the dense smoke rising from the land, a funeral pyre for the two cities. The judgment was complete. 10 righteous people had not been found. While Abraham's heart surely broke for the loss, he also understood the terrifying reality of justice. God had heard the cries of the afflicted, and he had acted. The wicked had been judged, but in his mercy, God had remembered Abraham and had brought Lot out of the catastrophe. Lot and his 2 daughters found refuge, first in the small town of Zoar, and later in a cave in the mountains. They had survived, their lives spared, but they were not unscathed. They had lost everything: their home, their community, their mother and wife. They were shaken to their core, carrying the memory of the fire and the weight of their loss. Their lives were forever changed, marked by the tragedy they had witnessed. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah was seared into their minds, and it would be passed down through generations, not just as a tale of destruction, but as a profound and enduring warning, a testament to what happens when a society completely forsakes justice, abandons mercy, and turns its back on the ways of God. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah echoes through the ages, not merely as a historical account of judgment, but as a powerful parable about our own choices. It forces us to look at our own communities, our own hearts. It reminds us that the way we live, the choices we make every single day, have profound consequences. Injustice, cruelty, and corruption are not sustainable. They have a spiritual expiration date. The story is a solemn guarantee that God hears the cries of the vulnerable and that He is a God of justice. But it's also a story of incredible mercy. It shows us that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, God provides a way of escape for those who will take it. The lesson is timeless and deeply personal. We are all faced with a choice. Will we choose compassion over corruption? Will we choose faithfulness over selfishness? Will we choose life over destruction? The answer to those questions defines not only our character, but our destiny. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content that explores these timeless truths. We'll see you in the next video.